Many Reese-based tutorials on YouTube teach you creating a smooth as possible sound, but this guy who runs today's hard techno game has a different approach. I will show you today how to recreate the Reese bass from his Engelsblut track with only Serum synthesizer. Using secret features, we will purposefully make our Reese filthy, unlike in other videos. The sound from today's tutorial is a part of my upcoming rave techno Serum preset pack. I packed the over 40 Serum presets, MIDI files and percussion samples as a bonus. Win the full version of this pack by signing up to my simple contest. We will start with an initial Serum preset to create a melody. Knowing the key and scale of the original track, it will be easy to hit the right notes. At the very end, I overlap the MIDI notes. That's where I will add glide, a smooth pitch change in the bass line. The glide is added in the bottom right section. The main problem is that we allow Serum now to play multiple notes at once. That is why we clearly hear the MIDI notes overlap. At any time we want only a single note to be played, so we need to turn on the mono switch. The mono stands for monophonic voicing and it doesn't have anything in common with the stereo sound. The glide is added, but its duration is so short we can't even notice it. With the portamento knob, I can increase the glide lengths to get an appropriate result. In the Oscillator A, we will use the wavetable most suitable for Reese sounds, the saw wave. A single saw wave doesn't have any interesting movement characteristic for Reese bass. A mandatory thing to do now is to add unison detune. What does it look like exactly? The unison control makes a single oscillator play more than, in our case, saw wave. The pitch of each extra saw wave, or in other words voice, added is controlled with detune knob. The volume of the extra voices is set with the blend knob. For a smooth Reese sound, a recommended setting would be to add lots of unison voices with a small detune. In case of Klangkuenstler style, we need a raw and unstable bass. I will decrease the amount of voices to make the sound sharper and increase the detune. The blend knob will be adjusted just to make the extra voices a bit behind. At last, I will use warping to make the saw wave a bit curvy. For this, a band warping mode will be decent. There comes the first secret Serum feature that is not so popular. Our Reese bass is very wide, and that comes from the unison detune. To change that, go to the global tab and adjust the unisono width for the Oscillator A. Our bass needs lots of equalization to sound decent. We have an equalizer in the Serum effects, but it's limited to 2 bands only. Thankfully, there are other Serum features we can use in the same way as an equalizer. At first, I will use the filter to boost the high end and roll off the highest frequencies. From the list of various filters, I will pick a scream low pass one. This one, when set appropriately, will do both things, and as a bonus, we can distort the sound when needed. I will start with opening up the filter with both cutoff and resonance knobs. Right now, it looks like I am doing the opposite of what I just said, because instead of cutting the highest frequencies, I just boosted them. So, it's time to introduce the saturation controls. Both drive and scream are usually used to create a distorted sound. but with moderate settings they will boost the right frequency range, giving us an equalization curve we need. To show you the difference in sound better, I will temporarily compensate the volume of the bass after adding the filter. It's time to move on to the effects tab, where I use a multiband compressor to make the bass crunchy. It works similarly as the OTT preset in Ableton's multiband dynamics, though this one is much simpler to use. The compressor, by default, will compress more high and low frequencies, leaving the mid ones a bit behind. This behavior is not adjustable, but we can control the intensity of it with both threshold and ratio. Bringing down the threshold will compress the bass more, giving more crunch. The ratio controls the dynamics of the sound. Moving this up will make the bass sound more flat. Both attack and release, in short words, control compressors' reaction times. These are useful when dealing with, for example, black sounds. In case of our bass, they don't introduce any change, so we can leave these knobs as they are. The last thing is to adjust the volume levels of low, mid and high frequencies. To further adjust the frequency balance, I will use an equalizer. I will cut some mid frequencies that make the bass sound boxy or growly. I pick a bell filter, set a large attenuation and adjust the frequency knob until I find a good place for this filter. I will aim for the frequency range between 500 and 1500 Hz. Now I set the right amount of attenuation with gain. The fine-tuning is done with Q control that sets the filter bandwidth. The second bell filter will make the bass muddy, and I am doing this purposefully. Using the same approach, I will boost frequencies from around 300 Hz area. The Reese sound in the original track doesn't have any low frequencies, so I need to cut these too. I will use a filter that, despite a different layout, works nearly the same as the filter from the OSC tab. I pick a high-pass filter and set the cutoff to around 200 Hz to make the bass light. The last effect will give the sound a metallic background that fills the bass. A reverb placed in the end is a perfect solution, as long as we pick a plate reverb type. The character of the reverb is set with size knob. I will adjust it to get the right sound. The pre-delay can slightly separate the reverb from the bass. The low cut and high cut remove low and high frequencies from the reverb. I will tweak them to keep the mid frequencies only. The damp knob is another way to control the high end of the reverb. It tells how fast these high frequencies fade away. At last, the widths can make the reverb more powerful and wide. I'd like to keep the reverb narrow and focused though. All the parameters are set, so I will blend the reverb with the bass with mix control. There is one extra trick to add more hiss to the bass. In the OSC tab, turn on the noise oscillator. Pick a suitable noise sample. I like the bright white one. I will pitch this noise down to make it fill mid frequencies more. It's time to blend the noise with the level knob. And again, for more Serum presets like that, check out my Rave Techno preset pack and join the contest to win it for free.